Solve the equation by completing the square. Here's our question. 6x squared plus 7x equals 3. And the first thing they want us to do is choose the appropriate process for rearranging the equation, if needed, before completing the square to obtain an equation of the form parentheses x plus a squared equals k. So we need to put that in that particular form. So we need to figure out which one of these options it's going to be. So let's go ahead and begin. So we have 6x squared plus 7x equals 3. Okay, so in this particular problem, okay, whenever we're completing a square, we always want to make sure that the variable terms are isolated on the left side of the equation, which they are, and then we have the constant on the right side. Now, if you notice, I left a blank space because we're going to complete the square by adding a letter n. But before we do that, we cannot have the leading coefficient to be any number other than 1. In this case, it's 6. So we need to divide each term by 6 so that we're able to then get the leading coefficient to be a 1. So now when we divide by 6, we have x squared plus 7 6x, and then that's equal to 3 over 6, but you want to simplify. So you always simplify in the next step, regardless of whatever fractions they are. So 3/6 is the same thing as 1/2. Okay, and now what we're going to do is now add n to both sides, so therefore we can complete the square. So now n is going to equal 1/2 of b, and then we're going to square it. Okay, so what is 1/2 of b? Well, we need to first determine what is b from our problem. So we have 1/2, and then b now is 7 over 6. So we're going to take 1/2 and then multiply that by 7 over 6, and then we're going to square that. Well, 1/2 of 7 6 is the same thing as saying 1 times 7, which is 7, 2 times 6, which is 12. We didn't have to simplify anything. Now, sometimes you may have to simplify before you multiply in there. In this case, we didn't have to. So we have 7/12, and then we're going to square that. Okay, now, when we square that result, we should get the following. 7 squared is 7 times 7, which is 49. And then 12 times 12 is going to give us 144. So now we know what n is going to represent. So for step number 3, we have x squared plus 7 6x plus the value of n, which is 49 over 144, and then that's equal to 1/2 plus 49 over 144. Okay, so now the next step in part 3 is, in part 4, is that we need to factor the perfect squared trinomial that's on the left-hand side. Now, we've already basically have done that by looking at the following. What did we have to square to get 49 over 144? Well, that was positive 7/12. So this is going to equal x, parentheses, x plus 7 over 12 squared. And then that's going to equal the following fraction. So we need to find a common denominator between 2 and 144. Well, we know that that's 144. And so 2 times what is going to give us 144? Well, the answer is 72. So 2 times 72 gives us 144. And then 1 times 72 is 72. And then we need to add the 49 to then get that particular fraction. So now we're going to add these two together. So 72 plus 49 is going to equal 121. And that's going to be over 144. Okay. Now in step number 5, now we're going to follow the square root property. So we're going to take the square root of the left side, which is parentheses x plus 7 over 12 squared. And then this is going to equal plus or minus the square root of 121 divided by the square root of 144. Okay, so now we get x plus 7 over 12, and that's going to equal plus or minus the square root of 121 is 11, and the square root of 144 is 12. And now we're going to subtract 7 over 12 to both sides of the equation. So now we're going to get x, which is equal to negative 7/12 plus or minus 11 over 12. So that means we're going to get two solutions. We get negative 7 over 12 minus 11 over 12. And then we have negative 7 over 12 plus 11 over 12. So negative 7 minus 11 is negative 18 over 12. And so now we need to reduce the negative 18 over 12. Well, the common factor, the greatest common factor that they have is a 6. So it's going to be negative, and then 18 divided by 6 is 3. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. So we get negative 3 over 2. And then down here, negative 7 plus 11 is going to give us 4 over 12. And then when we reduce that, it's going to give us 1/3. So therefore, the solution set is going to be negative 3 over 2, comma 1/3. Okay? Now, the first part of the question, what they want us to do is they wanted to figure out which one of these options is this going to represent. And what I mean by that is over here, I've already put the answer in here, but it's saying choose the appropriate process for rearranging the equation. So we need to figure out which one of these represents that particular result. Now, if you take a look here, okay, this step here is the same as this step. Only we need to fill in this part here, which is this 49 over 144. Okay, so over here we're putting 49 over 144, and this is also 49 over 144, and that represents the next step from step 2 to step 3. So that's why we're choosing A and then putting in the value 49 over 144, 49 over 144. Okay, now at the very end, now we need to write our solutions. So we have negative 3 over 2 and then 1/3. So let's go ahead and put that result in for our solution set. So we have negative 3 over 2, comma, and then we have 1/3. Let's check our answer. And there is our result.